going on? It's the 79th edition of the MMA Podcast, February 26th. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got a bunch to break down. UFC 170 this past weekend. We had Ronda Rousey defending her belt at women's bantamweight. Daniel Cormier moving down, making his debut at 205. A few welterweight matches on the main card. Rory McDonald, Mike Pyle, and Stephen Thompson all picking up wins. We'll be breaking that card down top to bottom. We'll be talking about the week of MMA news. The UFC's bringing Gilbert Melendez back to coach Tough 20 opposite Anthony Pettis, get a title shot at the end of the year. We'll very quickly break down Tough China this Saturday morning's card. It'll be fun. Let's do this shit. Coxsacks.
We did it for the love of the game. We did it, mama. I did it for. Yeah, mama. The game will never be the same. We did it, mama. I did it for.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
Fuck yeah, Lenny Hart. It is the MMA Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. You can listen to this show every Wednesday night, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. If you live outside the U.S., do the calculations yourself, cocksuckers. We appreciate the shit out of you cocksuckers, though. You can follow us on Twitter at The MMA Podcast. Visit our website, themmapodcast.com. Trying to update that a little bit more. You can click the links at the top to find our YouTube and iTunes channels. Definitely make sure you subscribe to us. This week, for some reason, Podomatic hasn't been doing, they haven't put the last few things up on the iTunes. Our boy Kevin Black let us know it's not loading on mine either. So the YouTube, it might take a few more hours, but that seems like it might be a little bit more reliable because Podomatic fucked up a little bit. Although I can't really complain because this has really been the only fuck up in the year and a half we've used them. Enough talking about Podomatic and iTunes and YouTube and all that shit. We got 3 other guys on the line. First and foremost, you might know him as The Truth. You might know him as Yao. I know him as a multiple-time gold medalist. Yao, The Truth, what's going on?
What's up, people? Glad to be back on the podcast. Sit back and enjoy.
Fuck. Yeah, and you have a competition coming up, right? We won't do a full Yao's training log, but you have any jiu-jitsu tournaments coming up? How is training going?
Absolutely. March 8th, I am fighting in Long Island Pride, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm getting ready for that. Training's going great. I got in 3 sessions today.
Looking to win his first gold medal as a blue belt on March 8th. We'll all be rooting you on. We also got a guy who is new to the MMA Podcast, but he's awesome at breaking down MMA. We love having him on. You can follow him on Twitter at DaveyBoy. That's DAVEI_BOI. Dave, we enjoy having you on the show. What's going on? How is the weather in Guam, man?
Hey, appreciate it, Jake. This is my 3rd podcast. I enjoy doing this. Hopefully there's going to be playing more. The weather over here is bright and sunny, and couldn't complain about anything over here. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon over here, so loving life. Good times.
Good times in Guam. Indeed, the last guy needs no introduction from the mean streets of Austin, Texas. It is the word on the street. You can follow him on Twitter at The Ant Jimmy Show, although that'll probably change soon. You can listen to The Word on the Street on Tuesday nights, same time, midnight Eastern. The Word on the Street is also available on our iTunes feed. The Word on the Street has its own YouTube channel. Very easy, just search Word on the Street Podcast on YouTube. Ramses, how you doing, fella?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Jake from the MMA Podcast. Good to be here. Check me out on Twitter. I am the Word on the Street. It is Black History Month, so just a word to the wise: stay off the damn streets, unless you are black yourself. And just be grateful that you have a show such as this, the MMA Podcast, to listen to until the heat dies down. Word on the street.
be thankful it's only 1 month out of the year. Word on the street, if you want to be a part of the show, Yao is sitting there shaking his head like every goddamn episode. They just get more and more pointlessly racist. It's good times, though. We appreciate all the racism coming from Ramses. I appreciate the racism that flows out of my own mouth like a fountain. If you are listening live on Ustream, like we mentioned before, we do this show live on Ustream every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern. You can call in if you want to be a part of the conversation, 213-457-3380, or you can Skype us. The Skype name is the MMA Podcast. Or you can tweet at us at the MMA Podcast. You can email us too at the MMA Podcast at gmail.com, but I'm probably not going to be able to read that on air because I don't check my Gmail during the show. Tweet at us, keep it to 140 characters. I'm not going to be reading big long stories on the show. Yeah, definitely we love when people call in and join the conversation. Let's get right to it. UFC 170 this Saturday at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's start with the Fight Pass prelims, pardon me there. We had 2 lightweight fights. Ernest Chavez defeating Yosdena Cedeno via split decision, 29-28, 28-29, 30-27. That actually was the only upset of the night. Of the night's, I believe, 10 fights. Or 11 fights. This was the only fight where the favorite in Vegas did not win. The other fight, we had Eric Koch, who's moving up to 155. Looked pretty fresh, knocking out Rafael Oliveira in the first round in 84 seconds via TKO. What did you think of the Fight Pass? Actually, I think in about a day or two, they're ending the free trial. So if you want to keep Fight Pass, you got to pay for it. With the library, though, and the prelims and everything, the post-fight press conferences, I do think it's worth it, though. I'll pass it over to you, Yao. Did you catch the Fight Pass prelims, and what'd you think of them?
Yeah, I caught the Eric Koch one. He looked amazing. The biggest thing for me was he looked bigger and healthier, on the scale and in the octagon. And I just really liked, I enjoyed seeing him at 155, put on a great performance, finish his opponent, and it was a good way to start off at 55.
What do you think of the lightweight debut of Eric Koch, Dave?
Well, I didn't watch it on Fight Pass actually, but I actually caught it on a stream. It was legal. It was legal, Dave, I promise. Okay. I actually caught the Eric Koch fight, and I was happy to see him go back up to 155, and I knew he was going to shred through his opponent. I mean, it was I couldn't understand. I was scratching my head why they would put him on Fight Pass, but I think more likely why they did that was because he's still kind of like a well-known fighter, but they needed to try to promote Fight Pass more and more so more people can subscribe to where, they could continue on, with that little Fight Pass venue that they have and stuff. But, yeah, clearly impressed and stuff, and, it was a good fight.
Ramses, what did you think of the Fight Pass card? And for the people who don't know, how do you sign up for Fight Pass?
Yeah, well, I'm not even going to pretend like I remember the actual fights, but I do remember being pleased with the Fight Pass stream quality and overall just with the presentation. I'm digging the Fight Pass so far. You can get yours at UFC.tv. It's definitely worth the price of admission. They're just building constantly, and it's the only way you're going to get to see tough Brazil 3, Sonnen versus Vanderlei Silva. Get your UFC Fight Pass. Like I said, I don't remember these fights. I see so many fights. Walking home from the grocery store, I see at least 3 fights. How am I supposed to remember them all?
Word on the street. And Dave mentioned watching it on a stream. You can't really give Dave any flack for not watching it on Fight Pass, because guess what? Fight Pass still is not available in Guam. UFC fixed that up, so next time around, Dave can watch the Fight Pass prelims on UFC Fight Pass, because you're actually right, Ramses. The stream is not bad whatsoever. Let's get to the Fox Sports 1 prelims. Like I said before, I thought this was one of the most stacked Fox Sports 1 prelims we've had to date. Alexis Davis defeating Jessica Ai in what may have been a title eliminator match. Alexis Davis may have earned a title shot beating Jessica Ai via split decision. Rafael Asunciao may have earned a title shot defeating Pedro Munoz via unanimous decision. Munoz didn't offer near as much resistance as a lot of people thought he would. Asunciao now is probably next in line to face Renan Barão at bantamweight if Dominic Cruz can't come back for the next title shot. My boy, Aljamain Sterling, making his UFC debut against Cody Gibson, who actually was a really game opponent, took the second round against Aljamain, but Sterling was still able to get a 29-28 decision across the board, and finally, this was the fight that started the Fox Sports 1 card. I'm sort of going in reverse here, but we had Zach Makovsky defeat Josh Sampo via unanimous decision. Makovsky now, I mean, he and Bagatinov might fight in a title eliminator match yet, so there were a lot of title implications on the line on this prelim card. And like I mentioned before, all four favorites winning: Makovsky, Sterling, Asunciao, and Davis. Davey, what did you think of the four fights? Anything stand out to you especially?
I know last week you were talking to me about Aljamain Sterling, so I was watching him more closely. And actually, I in my opinion, I think that should have been fight of the night, actually, because his first fight in the UFC, did he have some jitters? More than likely, but they actually put on a great show. They really did. I was actually happy that I didn't have to see Brian Caraway fight him. Actually, I was glad it was Aljamain, actually, the Funk. But I was extremely impressed with that fight. They were going toe to toe. They weren't just playing Dance Dance Revolution basically, but they're going for it, And I mean, and those are fights that I like to watch where you just bring it and you just leave everything in there, and I think they did. The Jessica Ai and Alexis Davis fight, I was actually kind of surprised, actually, with that fight. I thought there was going to be more. I thought there was going to be more for Jessica Ai to give to Alexis Davis. Apparently, Alexis Davis just had a better game plan, I guess. And then Zach Makovsky's fight, I don't know. I'm not impressed with him as far as yet. But I do see him more likely he could fight, Demetrius Johnson if he's in that title eliminator with his next opponent and stuff. And we'll see what happens. But all in all, like the fight that I was more impressed with was the Funk. That was a great fight.
Aljamain the Funkmaster Sterling winning a fight. Actually, I'm going to play a quick 1-minute clip when we're done breaking down this batch of fights. Sterling mentioned he had problems fighting at altitude. And it's funny, moving from Florida to Colorado, a lot of people have asked me about the altitude, and I tell them all, it's not the altitude, it's the dryness. Like, when I was unpacking my moving van, I drank a gallon of water in like 30 minutes, because the dryness pulls everything out of you. And I mean, I wake up way more in Colorado, super thirsty for water, than I ever did in Florida, because it's just so dry up at altitude. Nevada isn't as bad, but it's still kind of bad. And like I said, he said he felt like he was coughing up fireballs and stuff. Definitely had issues fighting in such a dry, arid, high altitude place, but he was able to get the victory. Ramses, what do you think of these four fights? Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, only one fight really stood out to me. That was the Jessica Ai versus Alexis Davis. Honestly, I think we need to. I had the fight scored as a draw. I think we need to see more draws. Of course, it does nothing for the UFC, but I think the judging needs to be a little bit more even keel here. I think this fight was a draw. Basically in the second round, Alexis Davis held Jessica Ai down and just did the lay and pray the whole time. That doesn't impress me. That doesn't score points in my book, and I'm the only person that matters. So I had that as a draw, damn shame, but hopefully Jessica Ai learns how to let loose a little bit more, uncork the ass beatings. But for right now, she needs to just take a break and keep puffing up. She's earned the right even though she says it was her dad that blew the smoke in her face allegedly. Yeah, right, Jessica. Smoking one for me, cause I'm about to for you. Word.
Hell yeah, yeah. What did you think of these 4 fights? Actually, you and I talked about how it was kind of crazy right before the fight started. The official UFC Twitter account tweets out, "Oh, Jessica, she's going in there. I bet she has the munchies." And it turned out that it was a Tim Kennedy guest tweet. He was tweeting from the UFC account. I laughed at it. Like, I mean, it wasn't that funny, but I laughed just because it was so bizarre seeing the official UFC Twitter, like, saying Jessica I as the fucking munchies. Like, what the fuck? It was just really bizarre. Yeah, what did you think of that, and what did you think of the fights?
Yeah,
You there? You're breaking up, Yao.
I don't think he should have tweeted that, but
Oh, you're back.
can you guys hear me? Yes.
Yeah,
that
you're
tweet
better
was-
now.
What?
You're better now. Go ahead.
Yeah, that tweet was a little tasteless. I didn't appreciate it too much, but what's done is done. The Jessica I fight, she's my favorite fighter in that division, and she has some work to do. Like, I'll be honest. She has some work to do. She's got to let loose, like Ramsey said. I think she could have knocked Alexis Davis out, but she didn't. The highlight for me out of all these fights, though, was Aljamain Sterling, believe it or not. He impressed me in a way I've never been impressed before because he actually has a defense. Like, he's one of the fewer fighters that actually has a defense. Like, if you look at that fight, he barely got hit. He was moving out of the way, catching kicks, blocking, slipping, and that's something that a lot of fighters lack. So that was very, very impressive.
Yeah, I said it before he joined the UFC. I said it in November when we interviewed him. Aljamain Sterling will be a future UFC bantamweight champion, and I still stick to that. Speaking of Aljo, before we get to the main card and before we break down Stephen Thompson versus Robert Whittaker, let's actually listen to Aljamain talk about some of those problems he was having at altitude. I'm having audio issues here for some reason, of course. Not sure what's going on. Did you all hear that?
No, man, nothing. It was dead silent, man. It
Really?
was fucked up.
Huh. Well, let's.
Yeah, that was not one of the queef, man.
Well, why
Yeah,
are you trying to
let's-
figure that out?
Yeah,
I can give my opinion on this Jermaine Sterling guy.
Yeah.
I thought the fight stunk. He didn't look impressive at all. Yeah, I have to disagree. I know it is Black History Month, but he wasn't doing it for me, man. He didn't. He gassed out, and then of course afterwards, even though he won, he was still making excuses. Well, he should have been disappointed in himself, but I mean, what was he saying? His mouth was full of cotton or something. He was breathing dragon fire or some piss. Nah, man, just admit it was his first time in there. He built up the rush and then it all drained out of him real fucking quick. He didn't know what the hell hit him. They tell him it's altitude. We all know what it was, man. He was shaking up. He just blew it all too early. He was looking pretty tip top in the first round until of course the fight became boring.
Let me know if you can hear this.
No.
Can you hear anything? What the hell?
Nothing, man.
All right, let me give this one. That's really fucking bizarre. Let me give it one more run and talk a little bit more about Aljamain, and if it doesn't work, we'll just move on. Fuck it.
Yeah, I know he's training with Ray Longo or whatever. He's supposed to be the second coming of Christ. But I saw nothing impressive in this fight, man. Nothing at all. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
No, whatever.
Yeah.
He barely squeaked out a win, right? I don't know.
He actually has a defense. He has a defense.
Really?
I don't know. He might have just had an adrenaline dump in the first round. I mean, like I said, you put that in the UFC jitters, but I think they both brought it. Actually, like I said, it was a better. I liked it better than Brian Caraway. I mean, I like the matchup better with Aljamain, actually.
Hey,
that
you
third
know
round
what?
was terrible.
It might just be the really strange audio file. Let me know if you can hear
Fight of
this.
the night was
Yep.
Maya versus Mc.
Wow, so that's just a, wow, that's really weird. Yeah, I noticed playing it, I could hear it, but it was only coming through one of my headphones. All right, I guess we won't listen to Aljamain Sterling talk about shit. That's the first time I've encountered that in any of the podcasts we've
Aljamain.
done. That's fucking bizarre. Sorry, Aljamain. Let's move on. Stephen Thompson taking on Robert Whitaker. Stephen Thompson finishes it via first round TKO. Looked excellent. Just was swarming Whitaker, moving forward. And Whitaker is a good fighter. What did you think of the fight? And what next for Stephen Thompson? Is he ready to go back up against top flight talent like Matt? You know, a guy like Matt Brown, who we saw just tear him up in a very one-sided fight when they fought Ramses.
Yeah, this fight, it was a good fight. I'll give it that. But really, nobody cared who won, Whitaker or Thompson. And basically, these guys, I'll keep it real short. I don't see them going up or down. I think they're both just going to remain exactly where they are, mid-level card guys. Yeah, I mean, good fight to watch. I'm glad there was a finish, but meh. It's like, who are these guys? I don't know yet. They got to show me that. That's what I think.
Yeah.
The finish in this fight was fantastic. I really thought that Robert Whitaker would win this fight, but apparently he didn't. Stephen Thompson, however, he's just not doing it for me. I think he's just a striker. I think a wrestler, a grinder is a bad matchup for him. Anyone that can, push him and make him work. And, yeah, I think if he goes against someone like Matt Brown or someone, in that upper echelon, he dies.
Jeez, he dies. Dave, what do you think?
I actually picked Thompson for the win, but I kind of went with my gut with that one because, I don't think they've been in the level of they really been pushed yet in the sense of where I can determine who would with my professional opinion who would win. But they had a few fights with other UFC fighters, but I think Thompson knew it was going to be a stand-up match against Forrest Whitaker, actually, and he knew his stand-up. He probably watched a lot of tape on him and stuff, and knew how to exploit him. Now, as far as who's Thompson going to fight, yeah, he should move back up in the rankings. I think he should probably fight the winner of Dong Young Kim or Hathaway, or hell, where the hell is Mike Pierce at? That would probably be a little good matchup between Mike Pierce and the Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy. Yeah, I love fucking Stephen Thompson walking out to Wonder Boy by Tenacious D. And let's see if this video is weird and won't and I can hear it in my speakers, but it won't come through. Or let's hear if you guys will be able to hear it. Stephen Thompson talking about his win at UFC 170. Another weird video. Wow, yeah, I saw it wasn't recording or anything, and it was just coming through one earphone. MMA Weekly, come on! I'm gonna give you a shout out if I play your videos. I don't know if they're doing this to purposely have people not be able to stream it, or maybe I just need to be recording it in stereo. But MMA Weekly, fucking soft move. You know what? I'm just gonna avoid your site and avoid sending people to MMA Weekly now, because your videos are shit. Fuck them. Let's move on. Mike Pyle defeating TJ Waldberger via third round TKO. What did you think about the fight? Do you think it was a late stoppage? Waldberger now back-to-back brutal KOs. He's been KO'd, I think, 7 times now. He needs to take a little time off. Pyle showing that he really is one of the elite gatekeepers. And it's shitty to call him a gatekeeper because he's a great fighter, but I don't think he can ever crack that top 5 of just all-star welterweights. But he's going to keep a lot of people out of the top 10. You need a good gatekeeper, and that's what Pyle is at welterweight. What do you think of the fight, and did you think it was an early stoppage, yeah? Or a late stoppage, yeah?
I like this fight a lot because Mike Pyle, he's a veteran, he's an older guy, and he's beating these guys, and it's exciting. I like to see that, like the old guys do what old guys do and beat the younger guys. But as far as TJ, it's pretty bad, getting knocked out, so often and like that is bad for your health. Like you said, he may need to take some time off. That's getting knocked out is never good. Taking a shot like that, you'll never be the same. But overall, congratulations to Mike Pyle. And no, the stoppage was okay.
Yeah, the stoppage, it could have been a couple seconds earlier, but it was kind of late, but it's not one of these stoppages I'm gonna think back to as like, oh man, this was horrible. This was so late. Like Maynard versus Nate Diaz, that was a super late stoppage. Curran versus Joe Warren, that was a super late stoppage. This, Pyle was being insanely accurate with all those strikes, but at the same time, Waldberger was never stopped trying to actively turn his back. He was moving around a lot and was really having a lot of movement there. Dave, what did you think of the fight? What did you think of the stoppage?
It was going to go where I was expecting it to go. Herb Dean, was it a late stoppage? Yes and no in a sense. He gave TJ like all the chances and maybe more. I think it's like the same thing you were saying too on that one, Jake. You see TJ like moving around and stuff, but I think like the other thing too, it seemed like Herb Dean was on the wrong side to see what was really going on when TJ was on his back. Or no, when he was on his stomach actually, and he was getting that barrage from Mike Pyle. And like another funny thing, I just thought about this too. Like you're calling like Mike Pyle like the gatekeeper and stuff like that. Like he's basically like the cock blocker for anybody trying to get into the top 10 actually. So yeah. In a sense, he is a gatekeeper. He is like a cock blocker / gatekeeper in that sense. But like I said, the fight it went where I expected it to go. It like the theme of the fight when I was watching it was pretty much experience over youth in that one. So that's what I think.
Hamzis.
My God, man, this fight was sick, man. Yes, it was a late stoppage. What was wrong with Herb Dean? That's what I want to know. It went on for way too long. TJ Waldenberger, he was getting his face smashed. His head was bouncing off the mat like a basketball. It was sick, man. It went on for so long. I had time to tweet out. I was like, stop the fight, and it got several responses. That's how much time, and the fight was still going on. He was still getting killed. It was disgusting. At some point, I started to puke until Herb Dean ran in and stopped it. I don't know what was wrong with him. Herb Dean should be in jail. That's right. I'm calling for his arrest.
Calling for the arrest of Herb Dean. Jesus Christ, that's super racist.
He's trying to kill TJ Wahlberg, man. It's bullshit.
All right, well, let's move on. I'm pulling the race card as always. Another welterweight fight. Another fight where we saw maybe a fighter getting himself into a title position. We saw Sun Xiao. We saw Zach Makovsky get very close. We saw Alexis Davis. We also saw Rory McDonald get back into the win column. Lost his shot at a title to Robbie Lawler at UFC 167. Defeated Damian Maia via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Rory definitely needs to get more aggressive. I really like that he was more aggressive this fight than he has been in his last couple fights, but I still would like to see him keep ramping it up, get back to that animal he used to be. What'd you think of the fight, and what's next for Rory McDonald? It seems like the path would be either a title shot, either the winner of Carlos Condit versus Tyron Woodley, or Hector Lombard and Jake Shields. He might get a title fight next. He still might need to fight one or two times before he gets a title fight. What did you think of the fight, and what next for Rory Mack? I'll throw to you first, Dave.
When I watched the fight, honestly, I thought it could have been a draw or split. I was kind of upset that it was a unanimous decision for Rory Mack, but I'm not a judge. I mean, it was close, and like it going to Rory Mack. I mean, I guess like it's not really to be disputed in a sense. It's not like a travesty or anything like that. Even before like they fought, I expected Maya to take Rory down, and he did. What I did expect him is to gas like that. I mean, he went against John Fitch and like took him down and was taking his back stuff. So whatever the reason why he was gassed, I mean, I don't know. But as far as for Rory saying, because I remember him saying like I want the winner of the Lawler and Hendricks fight. No, you need to fight Condit first before you even think about, fighting for the title there. Yeah, you had a good fight against Maya, but at the same time, he did dominate you. It was a 10-8 in the first round, so you need to, pump your brakes there a little bit, boy, and just wait until Condit and Tyron Woodley fight, and then you could see about maybe like a title eliminator.
Hell yeah, that's one of the few times you'll hear somebody be called a boy in a non-racist fashion on the MMA podcast. Ramses, what did you think of the Hohe McDonald versus Damian Maia fight?
Yeah, I'm almost done with Rory, man. I don't believe him anymore, man. He has, like I said, no killer instinct, it seems. Damian Maia was pretty much collapsed dead on his feet. He was swirling his head around. He could barely lift his arms to throw a punch. He was so gassed. And Roy just didn't even go for the kill, didn't go for any sort of finish. Kept playing it safe just like he always does, instead of being an exciting finishing fighter, which he has deep down with these GSPs, these people at TriStar. I don't know what the hell they're getting into his damn head. So yeah, man, I'm almost done with Rory. Damian Maia could have been handcuffed and with both kneecaps broken, already unconscious, tied up, and Rory still would hesitate before throwing a knockout blow. That's how serious this kid is. It's ridiculous, and I'm done with it. I don't even care that he won. That's it.
Shit, Yao.
I actually enjoyed this fight. When I first saw Rory McDonald was when he fought Carlos Condit. And he, was a monster. And then he went to TriStar, and he's still a monster. He's able to just stifle people. I love his style. He's maturing as a fighter. That's what I think it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to fight as recklessly as you once did when you were younger. When you get older, you change your style. And I like it. And he's able to just shut people down. That's what he did to Damian Maia, and I was happy that he won. People were pissed off that he didn't finish him, but the first thing you have to do in any fight is win, and that's what he did.
He did indeed win. Davey boy, we'll throw it to you last. What do you think of Rory McDonald's fight, and who do you think he should fight next?
I already answered it, but like I said before, like he needs to wait for that title shot. He needs to fight the winner of Tyron Woodley and Carlos Condit, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I actually, MMA fighting, the YouTube videos didn't work, but I converted the YouTube to an MP3. Let's see if we might be able to get Rory McDonald talking about why he nearly wasn't able to fight. He had a bad injury in training. Let's listen to what it was. Damn it, the audio is still just as fucked up. I was gonna play the clip. Honestly, MMA fighting, go fuck yourself. I'm fucking. That's so fucking ridiculous. No, MMA Weekly. MMA Weekly, sorry, not MMA Fighting, but yeah, MMA Weekly, go fuck yourself. Rory cut himself, like cutting an avocado. Thought he might actually need to pull out of the fight. Luckily, none of the other clips I had for the rest of the show weren't MMA Fighting, or sorry, Sorry, MMA Fighting, MMA Weekly, because MMA Weekly, their videos fucking suck. They're only coming through one of my earbuds. That's not quality audio, you cocksuckers. But yeah, Roy almost had to back out due to a cut from an avocado. Super anticlimactic. Fuck you, MMA Weekly. Let's move on to the co-main event. A light heavyweight fight. Daniel Cormier defeating Patrick Cummins in the first round. Like we all thought was going to happen. Wolf tickets, blah, blah, blah. It was just obvious that would be the result. What were your thoughts of the fight, and what next for Daniel Cormier? You know, a lot of different options are lingering out there. The winner of Rumble Johnson and Phil Davis, especially if Phil Davis wins. A lot of people think that the sort of line for the title, the next people in line, Glover obviously, who has a title shot in April, Alexander Gustafsson, currently the number 1 ranked light heavyweight under the champion, John Jones, and Daniel Cormier will probably be after Gustafsson. Maybe a fight against Phil Davis if he beats Rumble Johnson. If Gustafsson loses to Jimmy Manuwa, which could very well happen, that would change things and maybe give Cormier an immediate title shot against the winner of John Jones and Glover Teixeira. The winner of obviously Shogun Hua and Dan Henderson will be in a decent position. You got Little Nog. What'd you think of the fight, and what next for Daniel Cormier? Ramses?
Yeah, man, this fight, it was the epitome of what I'm always trying to say. This was an obvious work, people. Hands down, we all, come on, this was so obvious. This was the epitome, the definition of a work, from the setup to the actual fight itself. It was so obvious and out in the open, people don't even realize it was a work. That's how ridiculous it was, all right? It was carried out in the open in front of your faces. And people still don't see it, but there you have it. I've watched the fight a few times. Pat Cummins is rolling with the punches, taking the first out that DC gave him. I wasn't impressed by Daniel Cormier. I mean, he barely probably made weight, if he really did at all. None of these guys look 205. So congrats on the win, but I wasn't impressed. We didn't see anything from him. That we don't know if he can go into the third round with any gas. This guy literally, Pat Cummins, good for him. He got in, got paid, didn't do anything stupid. He did exactly as he was told and what was expected of him, in my opinion. And he looked good doing it. He'll have a career in Hollywood doing stunts in action movies. Word. The fight was a work, people.
Yeah. Yeah, the truth, you there?
Yeah, how am I supposed to follow that?
I don't know.
It was it was that was the most fun I've had watching a fight in a long time, because I knew exactly what was going to happen, and it happened. DC is he's a great fighter. He's really on another level. Of course, a higher level than Patrick Cummins, but he's just on another level in general when it comes to fighting, you know? Like his intelligence on fighting and everything, it's really great. It's something really good to watch. And I knew he would finish Patrick Cummins. He finished him in the first round. There's nothing more to say.
Davey boy, you have plumb done it now. You crossed the line, bud. I will make you pay. Make you pay dearly. Your words, you'll be in dire straits because of them, bud. Dave, this is not for you. I'm not even calling you Dave anymore. You are now Davey, okay, Dave?
Okay, Jacob. Okay. Can I call you Jacob since we're friends and stuff now?
You can.
Okay.
Only my mom
What's up?
calls... I was saying only my mom calls me Jacob when she's really mad at me, but you know what? Feel free to call me whatever you want to call me.
Alright, look, I mean, could have been Wolf tickets? Yeah, more than likely it could have been Wolf tickets. I mean, DC dropping down to 205. I don't think he didn't want any of the way. He wanted to fight on this card, and Personally, I was wanting an upset, but was it going to be a one-sided fight? Yeah, it was. But it would have been so awesome to see an upset like that, and like a lot of people would have been rich because I bet there was a lot of bets on PC on that regards. But other than that, I mean, we're forgetting something too here. You know, his first fight in the UFC, he had less than 9 days' notice to fight DC, and honestly, I was actually impressed with him in that fight against Daniel Cormier, even though like he got his ass whipped. He hit him with like a few leg kicks that made DC look fucking silly. He made him look silly. He almost fell on his face, you know, from those leg kicks. And I tell you what, I bet you John Jones was watching that fight, and he's hoping and praying that maybe if Glover gets injured, that he gets to fight DC, because like he's gonna watch that tape and Jones can throw some legs. He can throw some leg kicks, and I'm betting you he's like, please, like if Glover pulls out, please give it to DC, please, because he will take it, and I think Jones will exploit him for that. Honestly, I think if PC had a full fight camp, the outcome might have been different, you know. But with everything going on with like 10 days notice and stuff like that, and them trying to hype up the fight just to make the card look better, could have been wolf tickets. Yeah, more likely. But the fight itself, with PC having 9 days notice in his first fight in the UFC, and personally, I think he made DC look a little bit silly, you know, because he had a full fight camp. Yeah. Cormier, you need to wait a little bit, maybe fight like maybe one more fighter, and then you can look over to see if Jones will not be scared and want to fight you.
I still call wolf tickets, even though, I mean, yeah, you do make a solid point, Davey, and I don't go as far as Ramses to say that the fight was a work and that Cummins was paid to lose. I think Cummins, the people at Zuffa, they're smart businessmen. They realized that they didn't need to pay they didn't need to pay Cummins to make him lose. But yeah, that was just a very mismatched fight. Actually, you know what? We're going to have a video clip now that works. Shout out to Fox Sports. Follow them on YouTube, Fox Sports. Never follow those MMA Weekly guys unless you want horrible audio that's only coming through one ear, but I guess I can't really be that mad that I can't stream their content on my show, but man, that confused the shit out of me because I could hear it and other things were recording, but this wasn't coming through either on the stream and you all couldn't hear it. Shit was funky. You will be able to hear this though. Daniel Cormier talking to Fox Sports about the win over Patrick Durkin Cummins.
Congratulations to you. I guess, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I guess what happens in the wrestling training room should stay there, right?
Or at least it should, right? Because look at what happens when you talk about training and wrestling. I'm not gonna kick the guy while he's down. Him and I are gonna have to talk and figure out why he did it. I mean, obviously he's in the UFC. I think he has a bright future in the future. So it's just a very tall order for him to come in on 10 days' notice against one of the better guys in the division.
You didn't have a chance to say anything to him out there?
Not a word, man. I was all fired up. I got up, and it's my first time getting the finish in the UFC, so it's a big deal for me. I'm excited, man. I'm very excited. Everything was a success. The weight cut, everything just kind of went according to plan.
Yeah, I was going to say, you only had a minute and 19 seconds to really show us, where you're at 205. How were you feeling?
I felt great, and I felt like my power affected him more than it did the bigger guys because I don't even think I hit him very good with the uppercut that landed to knock him down. So the uppercut from the clinch, I mean, I've hit Josh Barnett with that a number of times. I hit Frank Mir a bunch of times with that, and those guys didn't go down. So I think my power is going to actually carry me a little further at 205 pounds.
Now, considering the way this went, how soon will we see you again in the octagon?
You know what? I'm just going to wait for the call. There's a lot of 205-pound fights coming up. I'll just always stay on call waiting. Keep training and being prepared, and if they need me, I'll step in. Whether it be to fight, Glover gets hurt, fight for the championship. Phil gets hurt, fight Anthony Johnson. Doesn't matter, whoever. I'll just stay ready to go.
All right. Well, we thank you for taking the time. Congratulations to you, Daniel Cormier, making his light heavyweight debut in a spectacular fashion. John.
Say hi to all the guys in LA. Hi, guys.
And like always, shout out to the people we get our content from, Fox Sports. Like I mentioned before, subscribe to them on the YouTubes. Watch Fox Sports 1. I actually I'm not just saying this to a pump 'em up. I'm being honest. I stopped watching SportsCenter and started watching Fox Sports Live, and it's just better. SportsCenter, they get wrapped up on one topic, whether it's Michael Sam, whether it's Tim Tebow, whether it's a year ago you had Manti Te'o. They just get wrapped up on one topic and chat about it. Fox Sports covers the UFC. ESPN really doesn't. Fox Sports, you have funny dudes and Jay Onright and Dan O'Toole. Love it. So definitely, if you don't have Fox Sports, find out how to get it, cocksuckers. Let's move on to the main event. Ronda Rousey taking on Sarah McMahon, defeating her via what was a controversial first round TKO finish. Ronda lands a liver kick, sends Sarah down to the mat. Sarah, she wasn't defending her face, but Ronda really was only able to land 3 shots before simultaneously Herb Dean stepped in and Sarah McMahon stood up. So Herb may have been, the fact that Sarah was standing up as he ended the fight didn't hurt her. I thought it was an acceptable stoppage. I actually watched the Gracie breakdown. We don't have time to play the entire 10-minute clip. And yeah, they are really close with Rousey, and you could say, oh, well, it's really predictable that they'll talk about their people. But I've actually seen Gracie breakdowns that, talk about where one of their fighters lost, or, they thought that in a controversy one of their fighters were not in the right place. So I really like watching those. Henner is a beast. And the Gracie breakdown, they had talked about the stoppage pretty in depth, but I didn't have much of a problem with it. I'd like to see Kat Zingano get the next title shot. Obviously, she's going through a lot in every aspect of her life, so if she's not ready to step in, I think Alexis Davis should be next. Ronda Rousey on a roll, her first non-armbar victory in her career. What do you think of the fight? Who next for Ronda Rousey? Wasn't an early stoppage. A lot to digest, so I'll throw it to Yao the Truth first.
The fight was okay. Wasn't exciting for me. Ronda Rousey's a great athlete, and she's still undefeated, and she's still champion.
What'd you think of it, Dave? You think it was an early stop? I think we were talking briefly on Twitter about it.
Yeah. Well, first off, before I say anything, in the words of Bam Margera, when he's seen Chris Pontius kick Ryan Dunn in the nuts in Jackass 2, I was so not ready for that, actually. A liver shot, pretty much a knockout, not an armbar. I was not ready for that. I was surprised that, Rousey was actually dominating the clinch, putting McMahon on the fence, actually. And I watched the replay of UFC 170 again, and I watched it again, and honestly, I had to kind of retract my statement I said on Twitter, because, at first I thought it was an early stoppage, but then I kept thinking about it more, and honestly, you got to compare a liver shot to, you got to compare a punch to the liver to a punch to the jaw. You have to. Yeah, there might be times where, it's like the ref's not going to stop the fight, when it comes to a liver shot or a knockout. But you got to compare it to the same way. You have to. Herb Dean, he made the call. Sarah McMahon went down, hands were on the floor, and Ronda was hitting her in the face, and she wasn't defending herself. But it was the liver shot, that was devastating to where Herb called the fight. You have to compare it to a punch to the jaw. You have to. That's what I think.
What's the word on the street, Ramses?
Yeah, man. Definitely early stoppage. Yes, it was. Ronda was going to finish that fight, but she was robbed of a chance to get a true TKO, in my opinion. That's the bottom line. What was wrong with Herb Dean, man? It wasn't Herb Dean that night. It was Herb Mazzagatti that showed up to ref. I don't know what was going on. I feel bad for Ronda. She was robbed of a true TKO, which was coming. I don't think dropping somebody with a liver shot should signal the end of the match, in my opinion. You got to give a fighter a chance, especially when the belt was on the line. This was a title fight. And like I said, Ronda, if it had been her knocked down, you're damn right Herb Dean would have given her a chance to get back up. I ain't buying it. Like I said, man, I am calling for the arrest of Herb Dean. Word on the street.
Pizza.
You weren't happy with the decision. The crowd wasn't happy with the decision. One fan in particular wasn't happy with the decision. I'm going to play a quick 20-second clip of this one dude. We listened to him last night on the Word on the Street, but it bears repeating. I want you to listen to it, and I want all of your reactions. Is this guy horrible? Or is this guy the greatest fan in the history of the UFC? Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Excellent victory against a very coming in here tonight. And what, if anything, surprised you?
I'm sparring this whole camp, and so I just thought as long as I stay consistent to that one spot, it'll eventually work. Person next to you is booing. You want to cheer, then you both want to cheer louder, even louder in here. So thank you for teammates, my family. I love all you guys.
Give us your thoughts on the stoppage.
The booing guy at UFC 170 will always be remembered. Ramses, what do you think about the booer?
I love him, man. I wanna invite him over for some beers, man. 'Cause he felt it. That was from the heart there. That this man was serious and was not fucking around. The fight was over. This guy was expressing his opinion in the form of one single word, which was boo. He sounded like he sounded like if you killed Chewbacca's one and only son right in front of his eyes. That's the noise that came out of this man, and I love him to death.
Yeah, he didn't get his voice back until Tuesday at the earliest. Dave, what did you think of the booer?
I loved it, actually. It reminds me of two things. It reminds me of School of Rock, where like they are like the finals of like the championship, and like no vacancy won. You had that one guy, and you're like, yeah, no vacancy. He's that one guy. The other thing it reminded me of too. I'm gonna try to keep this story short, but I was in San Diego, and the Nogueira brothers have a gym over there, and Frank Mir was fighting Minotauro. So, like, when they were, like, calling the entrance stuff, like, everybody was cheering for Minotauro. And I'm like, fuck that. So, like, I ended up, when he called Frank Mir's, name, Buffer called Frank Mir's name, I'm screaming, I'm like, yeah! And then next thing you know, like, Frank Mir almost gets knocked out, and everyone's, like, looking at me like, yeah, see? And then when Frank Mir put him in the Kimura and, like, popped his shoulder, I'm screaming, I'm like, yeah! Everybody's looking at me. My friends are, like, just, like, kind of, like, crouching down in the chairs thinking, like, we're about to get our asses whipped and stuff. So it reminds me of that, dude. I love it when I hear people do something like that, being, like, the only guy and just, like, pour their fucking hearts out. To me, it's funny as shit, actually.
Shit is hilarious. Yeah, what did you think of the booer?
I love it. Like Ramsey said, that was from the heart. That he wasn't faking that. He felt that, you know. So I like it. I like when, you know, people express themselves. He has the right to do it. I like that it got under Ronda's skin a little bit, and it was great.
Yeah, I actually was annoyed at first that the crowd was booing, but this one guy turned my, like, little bit of frustration into just me literally laughing out loud at this guy going so hard at the boos. Let's before we change gears from UFC 170 to the news, let's listen to some of the highlights of the post-fight press conference. You always get a ton of news at the pressers, and as always, we'll start it off with Dana White giving you the numbers from the event.
The fight of the night was Maia versus McDonald. Congratulations to them. Performance of the night was Ronda Rousey. Congratulations to her. And the other performance of the night goes to Wonder Boy. Everybody's name I said won $50,000, so congratulations.
Next, we had Ronda Rousey actually discussing that early/controversial/acceptable stoppage that ended the main event of UFC 170. Let's get Ronda's opinion of it.
I didn't think it was too soon. I would have kept going if someone didn't stop me, but, you know,
that's not my decision. That's why we have a referee in there to make sure that no one gets hurt more than they need to.
It did seem
Next, we had Sarah McMahon also talk about the stoppage.
kind of quick. Things are slowed down in my head in the cage. You know, like I felt it connect, and then like my body just moved to protect itself, and then I heard his voice, and I immediately tried to get back up. So I'm not gonna blame a referee for something that I feel like I should be able to control. I should get up quicker, and if you want to win fights, you just have to do it regardless of what's going on.
Dana White also chimed in on the decision.
You get hit to the body like that, and regular people that have never been hit to the body have no clue what that feels like. Believe me when I tell you. She went down on her knees and she turned her head the other way. Could Herb have let her take some shots to the face? Definitely. But when the fight happened and I saw it, I said, "Oh man!" Then I watched the replay, and when I watched the replay, I thought it was a good stoppage.
Making history here on the 79th episode. That was the first time a cuss word has ever been bleeped out on the MMA podcast. We had more comments from Ronda Rousey, not just about the stoppage, but about the fight itself.
We heard you talk a lot about your striking, probably more than normal. Did you kind of see this coming, that this might be an opportunity to showcase that part of your game?
Yeah, actually, I promised my coach this time that I was going to drop her with a body shot. And we called it, and we trained it a lot, and it was just a goal that I had in this fight. And I don't like calling it. I don't like saying it to the media or anyone else saying, I'm going to knock this person out. I always like to keep my mind open to whatever opportunity is there. But to my coach, I promised him that I was really going to try. And so, yeah, I'm happy I could have done that for him tonight.
We also had Daniel Cormier talk about his light heavyweight debut against Patrick Cummins.
No, I felt pretty good. I mean, it was only a minute and 30-second fight, so I felt good. When I was at heavyweight, I kind of would feel guys out a little bit, and I think these guys are a little faster, so I may not be able to do that anymore.
Rory Mack talking about his fight against Damian Maia, one step closer to the welterweight title, perhaps.
I was very happy with how I fought tonight. I felt like I didn't overthink everything like my last couple fights. I just went in there and I let the training show. I just shut my mind off and I fought, and I felt good. I still like to rewatch the fight, but everyone seems to be happy with it.
And next, the microphone got passed over to Rafael Asunciao. Rafael Asunciao defeating Pedro Munoz in a fight that perhaps has earned him a bantamweight title shot against Renan Barão.
Do you feel ready for a title shot?
I think my consistency and my record, it's showing right now. I'm happy for my 6th win in a row, and whatever the UFC decides, I just feel I'm in position. I've been getting better every fight, and even though I lost me an opponent, the guy was a tough opponent, and I've been breaking a lot of the past fighters that I fought. I've been breaking their win streaks. So if you look at the last couple guys I fought, I've broke their win streak. I was the first one.
Do you feel like you've done enough to earn the title shot?
Yep.
Let's hear Alexis Davis answer that question.
Of course I'm going to say yes. I've been fighting for so long, and, who else is 3-0 in the UFC other than the girl, who's sitting right down from me. It was a great win for her, and, obviously she's got a lot of things going on, but I want that shot. I'm the quiet girl that sits there, but I'm looking for it. I'm reaching out for it. I'm going to take it if I get it.
And we'll wrap it all up. We'll pass the microphone back to Daniel Cormier, talking about his future and his future at a lower weight, fighting at 205 pounds.
I mean, I would like to fight again, but it seems like everybody's pretty much tied up, So I guess I just stay ready, and if someone gets injured, they give me a call, and if the fight makes sense, So I'll fight anytime, So they got some big fights coming up, If anybody gets hurt, they can give me a call.
He's going to have to lay off the pretzels for a few weeks to make sure nobody...
These pretzels are good, man. I'm starving. Guess what? Popeyes is bringing my whole family food tomorrow, so you guys can get out of here.
Hell yeah, and the next day we actually did see on Twitter, the Popeyes social media team brought him and his family a bunch of Popeyes. If you live near Popeyes and you know the deliciousness of Popeyes, you know the joy that Cormier felt in his heart. We will move on from UFC 170 to a few news topics. Let's get to it. Let's do the news. Look at that. I was trying to get to the news by the time we were an hour in. We are in exactly an hour in right now. Hell yeah. Right on schedule. Tough 20. A lot of people thought Gilbert Melendez was headed to Bellator. Bellator had signed him to a contract. The UFC had matching rights. They had the ability to retain Gilbert by offering the same contract Bellator did. Nobody thought the UFC was going to do it, but they did it. Not only are they bringing Gilbert Melendez back to the UFC, they are having him coach the Ultimate Fighter 20 opposite Anthony Pettis and giving him a title shot against Tony Pettis in December, I believe, filming for Tough 20, which we'll see two championships, one between the coaches for the lightweight strap, and actually the winner of Tough 20 will be the inaugural women's strawweight 115-pound champion. Filming will be in May. I think it'll probably air, late summer, fall, and we'll probably see the Melendez-Pettis fight toward the end of 2013, or 2014, sorry. What was your reaction to hearing that Gilbert Melendez was brought back? I was fucking ecstatic. And who you got? Tony Pettis versus Gil Melendez, in my opinion, the top two welterweights in the UFC, Dave. Or welterweights, the top two lightweights in the UFC, Dave.
Yeah, you know what? Like I said last week, I didn't think the UFC was going to match it, but they did. Here we are, and they matched it, and I think they matched more than what Bellator was going to offer. The best thing that happened on the subject, that it wasn't like a Bellator Eddie Alvarez drama. There could have been some behind the scenes, I think, that could have happened. Like I said last week, Dana, or maybe not Dana, somebody else could have talked to him. Or even that's like maybe Gil's team, got some info from some of the Bellator employees and like, dude, maybe this ain't like a good move. Don't want to be locked in a contract. Or if anything, Gil's team, they could have been selling wolf tickets to the whole media and stuff and making the UFC having to give out a little bit more because they don't want to lose, Gil to Bellator, if anything, because that would have been that could have been bad. That could have been just a bad publicity for the UFC in a sense. But you know what? At the end of the day, who wins out is, I think the UFC does. I mean, they showed they're professionals, when it comes to all this, with the media being outraged that Gilbert was thinking about, moving to Bellator and stuff. And they still remain professionals and not making this an Eddie Alvarez drama.
Yeah, I don't know about it being wolf tickets because a lot of media outlets did confirm that Bellator signed him. Bellator confirmed it, and I think for the UFC to have signed Gilbert, they would have needed to see the actual contract from Bellator so they could match it. But you make a good point. I don't think a lot of UFC fighters are willing to go to Bellator. Most of these dudes, their goal is a UFC championship and a Bellator belt, a World Series of Fighting belt. That sort of pales in comparison as far as the level of talent, the respect, the media, etc. I don't think a lot of fighters are willing to go to Bellator, but Gilbert pushed all in. Gilbert went to Bellator, got signed by Bellator. At that point, it wasn't Gil's choice whether he'd be in the UFC or not. It was Dana White's choice. It was a ballsy ass move by Gilbert Melendez to force Dana's hand, force Zuffa's hand, and that's exactly what he did. It was business savvy at his finest. Gilbert Melendez is probably going to be making a lot more money than the UFC would have offered him hadn't he gone to Bellator and gotten a big deal over there. Ramses, what do you think about the Gil Melendez situation and who you got, Gil or Tony?
Yeah, when I heard the news about Gilbert Melendez, the UFC not only giving him the raise that he asked for, renegotiating his contract, but giving him an immediate title shot again. After he went 1-1 in the UFC. I'm sorry, but when I heard the news, I was the boo guy. All right, the guy yelling boo, that was me. I did that.
I'm gonna boo you. Boo.
I just don't believe in negotiating your way into a title fight. Okay, I don't. Man. Okay, I still respect Gilbert.
But it's not like a crazy reach. I mean, Gilbert is one of the top guys in the division. Bendo just like who more than Gilbert deserves a title shot? You know, Grant's injured.
He had one fight in between title shots, is what this is gonna mean. Like, nah, man, this ain't right.
Chael Sonnen had 0 fights between title shots.
That's not even comparable, though. That's because he was the only person willing to step up to take the fight. Chael Sonnen didn't sit there complaining about money. He didn't try to negotiate his way into that fight. He didn't threaten to quit and leave if they didn't give him John Jones. All right, that's not what a real fighter does. That's why I lost a little bit of respect for Gilbert, man. He just was willing to turn his back on the company that actually gave him what he wanted right off the bat to come in. They gave him an immediate title shot, and he blew it, just like Davey was saying.
I don't know. I mean,
that's all I got to say.
I can't say a fighter, he turned his back. He was going to keep fighting. A fighter's got to look out for himself. This is a tough business. All these fighters are going to retire with injuries. They're going to feel this the rest of their lives. Gil Melendez has 0 debt to the UFC, nor the UFC fans, and if Bellator is going to pay him way more than the UFC is going to pay him to fight way shittier people that are going to injure him way less and leave him with way less brain damage, just like, pay him twice as much as the UFC is going to give him to crush cans, why the fuck wouldn't you, Yao?
I just want to say I'm for him. I just want to say I'm for him getting the money, whatever, that's great. But he didn't just go after the money. He went after a title shot. Like, that's not done at the negotiating table. You got to fight for that at least.
We don't know that.
But the money, whatever he wanted. Oh, come on, man. What do you think sold it?
The UFC wasn't indebted to give him a title shot. All they had to do was match Bellator's deal. It was
basically a title shot.
There was 0 talking of title shots or money or anything between UFC and Gilbert. All the talking went on between Bellator and Gilbert, and they made a deal, and the UFC just took that same deal and said, okay, we'll match. And whether a title shot was included, I don't think. I honestly don't think. Of
course, that's what he was after.
That was a stipulation.
He wanted a title fight in there, man, and he got it. I refuse to believe that the UFC just kind of threw that in there to sweeten the pot.
Well, they had the legal right to match Bellator's contract and retain him and keep him. So, I mean, whatever was in the Bellator contract was what the UFC agreed to.
I don't respect him.
All right, moving on. Yao, what do you think about the whole situation?
I was a little confused at first. I think this was a desperation move. They gave him a title shot. I think that's what really sold it. He almost lost his last fight. And I don't see how that puts you in line for a title, but apparently it does. They matched him. I think it was good. They'll benefit from this, and it'll be a great matchup between Anthony Pettis and Gilbert Melendez.
Word. Yeah, let's get past that topic and get to a topic I saw a lot of people talking about. Ariane Celeste responding to comments from Ronda Rousey way back in 2012. Rousey said in a Maxim interview, I have the quote here, this is what Ronda had to say about Ariane. It would have been really funny if I'd beaten Ariane Celeste, because that would be like a triathlete coming along and beating the runners in a marathon. Like, haha, it's your job to show your titties. I do that better than than you do. Maybe next year. She's only getting older, and I'm reaching my prime. Ariane took a little while. That was back in 2012. It's 2014 now. But on MMA Junkie Radio, shout out to them. I always listen to those motherfuckers. This was on Friday. She said, quote, this is Celeste on Rousey. I don't really like the way she carries herself. I don't think she's a good role model for women. I think that women should empower each other and give each other a little pat on the back. I've personally been talked about by her, and I don't even know her. I've met her twice. She said a couple things in her Maxim interview. A lot of people pointed out to me, but I didn't really acknowledge it. Saying Rousey's not a good role model for women, saying that women should all, quote, give each other a little pat on the back. Dave, what are your thoughts on Ariane saying Rousey's not a good role model?
Honestly, I don't know how to respond to this one. I mean, Ariane Celeste, and Ronda Rousey, it just sounds like, an old-fashioned teenage little girl cat fight, honestly. Yeah, a little late, Ariane, on the response, I would actually be just more entertained if, like, Ronda Rousey, in her next weigh-ins for her next fight and stuff like that, if, like, Dana has to separate Ariane and Ronda, actually. I mean, seriously, Ariane, you probably shouldn't be saying anything on the radio. You know how crazy Ronda Rousey is, and if you want to, keep, your job and stuff like that and holding up the ring card, I think you need both arms for that, and she can armbar people, and it'd be easier for her to armbar you than anybody else. So, Ariane, you're hot, but keep your mouth shut.
Damn, Ramses, what did you think about the comments from Celeste?
Yeah, man, this cat fight here, it's pretty hot right now, but it's bordering on desperation. I mean, there's probably a side to this story that we're not aware of, or at least the general public isn't aware of. This goes deeper than these comments. If this is what they're saying in public, imagine what kind of shit talk is going on behind the scenes. Basically, what I think and the way the word on the street is that Ariane, I mean, she's what, almost 26 now, maybe 27 years old. It's almost over for her. All right, she might as well be retired.
She's 28
next year.
28.
Oh, Jesus Christ, even worse than I thought. Yeah, it's almost over for her. She's at least 8 years past her prime. So of course she's not happy with the fact that she used to be the prettiest girl of MMA, the hottest face in the UFC, and guess what? Now she's not. She's bitter. It's pretty damn hot, but these Ariane, man, she needs to start saving up her money. All right, it's almost over for her. The writing's on the wall, and she's looking a little bit desperate here. God bless Ronda Rousey.
I take Brittany over Ariane, actually.
I don't know,
man. I hate that Brittany got all that plastic surgery. She was so naturally cute. And I mean, she's still super hot. I'm not saying it was botched and she looks crazy now, but she looks artificially hot now. And before, she was fucking like that girl next door cuteness. It's a damn shame, people. Yeah, what did you think of the quotes by the ring girl about the welterweight, what the fuck am I on tonight? The women's bantamweight champion.
This is just silly. I saw the headline. I didn't even bother to read it. I have nothing to say.
Yeah, my thoughts. Ariane saying Ronda is not a good role model. If I have a daughter, I don't have any kids yet, luckily. Still a young buck, 24. If I have a daughter, do I want her to grow up to be a martial arts champion? And Rousey is known for a lot of things, some good, some bad. I'll take the full package. Or do I want my daughter to grow up to be a ring girl? Martial arts champion, ring girl. I don't even think I really need to seriously answer that question. Got a few more bits of news, but first and foremost, That doesn't even make sense to say foremost. What the fuck have I been smoking? I think someone snuck a little bit of crack into this weed. Let's do the damn 10 solid seconds of sports. We talk all things not MMA. My Florida Gators rise up to the top spot in college basketball rankings after notching their 20th win in a row. The Winter Olympics came to an end this weekend in Sochi and were considered a success. The NFL Combine took place as teams looked to the upcoming draft in April. Mike Trout earns a one-year, $1 million arbitration deal, the biggest of its kind. All right, Nick Diaz. No, I was pretending like I passed out because just before I had pretended that I had came. Nick Diaz. He says he wants the next title shot at welterweight. Simple enough. Do you want to see him get the title shot? This is the quote. Recently speaking with MMA Junkie. Shout out to MMA Junkie. Don't go to MMA Weekly, those motherfuckers. I've been fighting for 11 years. I don't have to take a warm-up fight. What am I going to take a warm-up fight to help someone out? Bring them up to my level? Because I've already been through that and you haven't still seen me take an ass whipping? He says he wants the title shot. Dana, on the other hand, at the UFC 170 post-fight media scrum, said, quote, "It's not even worth talking about. He hasn't fought. He hasn't wanted to fight. He's not even in the conversation." So it sounds like a title fight is off the table. I'd love to see him take on Rory Mack next. That would be... that, you know, the shit talking going up to it, there would obviously be pushing and shoving at the weigh-ins. Both of them very intense, but sort of like in the exact opposite spectrum as one another. You know, both of them are very intense fighters, but Diaz is sort of loud and will say, "Hey, bitch," and slap you during fights. Rory is just that Patrick Bateman, quiet, psychopath sort of. He, you know, there's nothing on the exterior, but you know, he's just full of hate and fucking anger. What do you think of Diaz? Should he get a title shot? Ramses, I'll throw to you first.
Yeah, I laughed my ass off when I heard his latest rant. This is definitely like some stoned logic that he applied here. Just he was sitting there one night and he was like, "Man, I'm only gonna fight for the title because why should I have to earn my way to the title when I've already done that?" You know what I'm saying? He's saying he shouldn't have to fight anybody else. He should go to the title because he's already fought people to get there before. That only happens when you've smoked enough weed to where that makes sense to you. And now he's demanding it. I hope he gets it just as a goof. But again, this does fall under the category of negotiating your way to a title fight. I don't believe in it, but as a goof, I'd like to see it. Why not, man? Just humor the guy. It's pretty creative. I've never even thought about it, fighting in that sense, man. God bless him.
I mean, he does make a point in that he really is the biggest draw in the welterweight division. Yao, what are your thoughts on Nick Diaz's demand for a title shot?
It's pretty funny. I laughed pretty hard when I saw it. This Diaz brother is hilarious, honestly. Nick, he's delusional. Like, come on, you don't. He believes he should just fight for the title. His last fight was a title fight, and he got destroyed. So, what? He just wants like endless title fights. It's silly.
Dave?
Oh shoot, dude! Like I just got a text message. I gotta go back into work here in a second, but I'll do. This is my last response.
All right,
dude. I smell something here. I mean, okay, Gilbert Melendez, Nick Diaz, and Nate Diaz. Okay, Gil, you know, was trying to, you know, sell, you know, whatever you want to call it, maybe sell wolf ticks or not, but he got renegotiated his contract with the UFC, got a title shot and stuff. Next thing you know, Nick Diaz trying to talk about, you know, he should be like an immediate, you know, title contender next. And then next thing you know, now Nate Diaz, he tweeted out that like he wants to be released from the UFC, what the fuck is going on in Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu right now? Holy fucking shit, okay? But, you know, Nick Diaz going for the title shot and him being like a big, like probably like one of the biggest draws besides the GSP. Yeah, I could see it that way. In like, if anything, yeah, Roy Mack and Nate Diaz, that'd be a great fight. But if go a little bit of the history books for anybody who's watched the old UFC days, if Robbie Lawler happens to beat Johnny Hendricks, that would actually be a good promotion draw to see the rematch of Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz. Actually, that would actually, I would pay money to see that. But as far as that though, I mean, Nick Diaz trying to just be an idiot and just like ask for an immediate rematch for, I mean, not an immediate rematch, but an immediate title shot. Come on, man. Your last fight against GSP was almost like 2 years ago. Come on, man.
Come on, man. And Davey, we will let you go. Where do we find you on Twitter? Any other shout-outs? Get them out before we drop you off the call.
Okay. I mean, I don't got any of my new followers or anything like that, but shout out to all my new followers, stuff like that. Again, Jen, thank you again for, you know, hooking me up with the MMA podcast. Yeah, the truth. Word on the fucking street, and Jake from the MMA podcast and shit. But you can find me on Twitter. That's DAVEI_BOI. Other than that, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Take it easy, man. And actually, Yao, let me know through the Skype chat. He has to be up in 4 hours. He's training hard. He's got a fucking tournament in like a week and a half or some shit. Yao, as always, thank you for coming on the show. Where do we find you? Any other shout-outs?
First, shout out to you guys, but you can follow me on Twitter at Yao_the truth. You should know how to spell all of that by now. Thank you.
Yao the truth. YAO_the truth. Yeah, we'll catch you later, buddy.
Later, man. Stay
there
black.
He goes. Ramses, it's only you and me, like last night's word on the street. We're gonna knock shit out. We got a few more topics I want to talk about. Nate Diaz, did you see his tweet from today?
Yeah, man.
Nate
he's
Diaz,
the same shit as his brother. Same strain, I bet.
Honestly, that could be a theory. Gilbert, Nate, and Nick are
Powerful
all
shit.
smoking the same strain. Fuck, we'll call it that Jerry Maguire. They're fucking Gilbert's getting signed by Bellator. Nick wants an immediate title shot, and Nate Diaz tweeted today at UFC at Dana White, I would like to request to be released from the UFC. It's time for me to be on my way. Then there's a space, then there's 2 periods, then there's another space, then there's a question mark. So the question mark at the end makes it really hard to tell whether he's being serious, whether he's suggesting, whether he just wants a better spot. I mean, Nick and Nate have obviously seen what bargaining can do for Gilbert, and they want the same thing for themselves. What do you think?
Yeah, like I said, man, this guy was smoking some serious shit, man.
I think I might need to fire up the damn music, because we got a theory on our hands, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right, man. This is what I think, man. I think the Diaz brothers and the Melendezes and the whole whatever the hell what the training guy,
Scrap Pack.
Right, the Scrap Pack. They're playing Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, basically. I think they got sold some crazy ass shit, man. Some anti-UFC type weed, dude. Some shit you ain't even heard about. It's called the Bellator.
They're smoking that Bjorn Rebney.
Yep. It's for real, man. They all got a hold of the same sack this month or something. They're all talking about leaving the UFC, trying to just squeeze nickel and dime the UFC and get some title shots out of it here and there, left and right. Nate Diaz, man, he was probably just out of his mind today. He's like, man, what if I just tell him I'm done, man? And what if I just, and then he tweets that shit out. That's very odd. Odd way to do that, son. God bless him. I hope he gets whatever he wants. You might as well placate these people. These Diaz brothers are here to stay. They can pass any drug test now. There ain't nothing you can do to stop it, UFC. So what you gonna do? Signed Gilbert, might as well sign these other guys. Nate Diaz, he probably just doesn't want to fight Gilbert. But can you blame him? God bless people. Whatever's going on here, I want what they're having. I guarantee you, I'll never turn my back on the UFC. I ain't never been that high. Word on the street.
That is a fucking beautiful theory. I'm tweeting it out now. You know what's going on. The MMA Podcast, we're always breaking the latest and the greatest shit. Bjorn Rebney selling the Diaz's and Gil Melendez. Tainted damn weed. Let's move on. First and foremost, though, we got to get to our beatdown of the month. I guess I'll play the music first. I guess I'll start off with Yao and Dave's because they had to pop off. Yao and Dave chose the main and co-main event of UFC 170. Dave's beatdown of February was Rousey beating down Sarah McMahon in a quick fashion, her first TKO win on her record. Yao's was Daniel Cormier finishing Patrick Cummins very quickly, getting himself just a little bit closer to the light heavyweight title. My beatdown, Renan Barão dropping Uriah Faber 3 times. Uriah Faber is easily the second best fighter in the bantamweight division, in my opinion. And now Renan Barão has just beat him down twice. He is a level above. Renan Barão is the man. I was saying Renan Barão was a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter before he had a fight with Zuffa. He is the man, and he will be the man for a long time. Ramses, what's your beatdown?
The beatdown of the month was all due to illegal strikes. It was Eric Silva versus my hero, the uncrowned champion of the division, Sato. All right. Eric Silva, of course, used the impressive heel kick, the donkey kick, the reverse Billy Goat heel kick. Everybody was blown away by it, but no one else, except for me and maybe Sato's brother or something, noticed that the kicks were illegal. Sato didn't stand a chance after that, but he hung on for dear life to that single until he was beaten unmerciful, until he was humiliated. But the kick was illegal. Eric Silva should have been disqualified. Sato forever, bitches. But yeah, he did get his ass beat down. Beat down the month.
Beatdown of the month, Silva, Cormier, McMahon, and Barão. Next week we'll have the fights we're pumped for March. Let's shift gears from the Diaz's and Tainted Weed over to women's mixed martial arts. Everybody, the fight they want the most for Ronda Rousey is Chris Cyborg. Cyborg seems to be her toughest opponent, and it actually is. It's not bad. I mean, I do want to see her join the UFC, even though a lot of people don't say, oh, she's a steroid abuser, blah blah blah. Oh, she can't drop to 135, blah blah. We'll definitely see how she does with the drop to bantamweight, but she is dropping to 135. She says she wants to join the UFC. Actually, the quote she made on Access TV's Inside MMA. If you don't watch that show, my God, I love this shit out of Boss. And any man who can make Kenny Rice likable, you gotta love it. This is the quote from Cyborg on Inside MMA. In reference to Ronda's statement that I'm looking for a payday so that I can retire, you're right. I am looking for a payday to retire you like I did Gina Carano. But it's to show it's not only about money. I challenge you to a fight, winner takes all. Or better yet, let's fight for free. Anytime, anywhere. Ask your daddy Dana to make it happen. Now all the critics will say, I thought you'd die if you made 135. All I'm promising is that I will give 100% to try and get to 135 to make this plan happen. If I do, I'll still listen to my doctor's advice and fight no more than 3 times at 135. First to win the Invicta belt, the second time to kick your ass, and the third time to kick your ass again so that the world can see it wasn't luck. You can even have me tested every week up to the fight. That way you won't have an excuse after I kick your ass. Powerful words by Chris Cyborg. What do you make of them? And do you think we see her in the UFC anytime soon?
Nah, man, this ain't gonna happen anytime soon. I think eventually it will, but I don't really, man, Cyborg, man, this is not right. What's happening here? I do agree with the UFC on telling her to fuck off for right now. She did say, or she did let her agent, super manager Tito McGuire, say that if she dropped
Tito,
down to 135. Right, but it was already too little too late. The dude said she was gonna die or something if she tried to make that weight, and she was talking about, I want to have babies. Like, give me a fucking break, lady. When I heard that quote, I was so disgusted. I vomited. I puked.
You're disgusted she wants to have children? What?
I vomited when I heard her say that. Anyway, she's now claiming I can make 135, but I can only make it 3 times. That's what the doctor's saying now, huh? That's your story. It sounded like the quote you read. It sounded like it was drafted by a man who I probably think was named Tito Ortiz, aka Tito McGuire, the best sports agent in the business to have ever lived. I don't think this fight's gonna happen anytime soon, but eventually, yeah, the writing's on the wall. It'll sell a couple pay-per-views, but yeah, they're telling her to fuck off for right now, and she deserves it, man.
Word, yeah. I hope we see her join the UFC soon. I really want to see the fight. Yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say without getting ugly. Daniel Cormier. Last bit of news before we briefly talk about Tough China and wrap it up. Sorry, folks, no fight tip tonight. Daniel Cormier, like we heard in the post-fight presser, getting that free Popeyes chicken. I assume it was free. Popeyes got a ton of publicity from it, so they should have given him the food free. But he gets a bunch of Popeyes. That was his cheat food. He couldn't eat it in training, trying to cut from heavy to light heavy. But he and his family all enjoyed a bunch of Popeyes in the hotel the day after the win. So I'm going to turn the question to you. What is your number one cheat food? For me, if I'm going with like a brand like Popeyes or something, nothing's better than just drowning yourself in some horrible Taco Bell. But any kind of meal, like anything period, I gotta say a baked potato, a ribeye steak cooked medium rare on the grill, can't beat that. Ramses, what is your number one cheat food?
Look, there are places in Texas where you can get the best fucking chicken fried steak with gravy, homemade gravy from scratch, man. There's some places here that have nailed it. And that, I don't even know, what is that? Just a fried steak, breaded, buttered down. Just the fattiest fucking steak that was left over. I love it, man. There's some places here where you can get a chicken fried steak that's like a damn 1.5 inches thick, man. Delicious. It's only in the South, people. Don't even attempt this at one of these chain places or up north or whatever. But yeah, man, that's what I go to.
Shout out to former sponsor of the show, Wally Burger, home of the Wally Burger with cheese. Make sure to check them out.
What's up, Wally?
What up, Wally? Yeah, you don't have one specific cheat food?
Yeah, man, a fucking chicken fried steak, dude.
That's it? Oh, nice.
Yeah, man.
Good
all
as
covered
time.
in gravy, man. Like both sides, just swimming in a pool of gravy. It's all buttered up.
Word. Well, let's change gears from the news to the Tough China finale. Jesus Christ, I'm getting my tongue all sorts of twisted tonight. It's going to be a strange fight in that it's starting Saturday morning for us. But before we break it down, I got a little minute and a half long clip. Shout out to the UFC for posting this on the YouTubes. If you aren't subscribed to the UFC on YouTube, I don't know what the fuck your problem is. They post everything. They really throw up a shitload of content, from Dana White's video blogs to the pressers to interviews to previews of cards to the countdowns. If you aren't all in with subscribing to the UFC on YouTube, getting UFC Fight Pass at UFC.tv so you can watch the prelims, so you can watch Tough Brazil 3 starring the American gangster Chael Sonnen. I don't know what you're doing. Me and Ramses are probably going to hit a bowl while this plays. It's 90 seconds long. Joe Rogan, let us know what's up this Saturday morning at the Tough China finale.
John Hathaway versus Dong Young Kim is a very important fight in the welterweight division. Both of these fighters are on win streaks. Both of these fighters have very promising futures in the UFC. With Dong Young Kim, he is on the short list of top contenders in the 170-pound division. Dong Young Kim is elite.
Kick to the case. Oh, he's in big trouble. There he goes, man. Oh, big shot.
Stepping in against Dong Young Kim is John Hathaway. He is a big guy for the welterweight division and known for his wrestling, his strong control, and imposing his will and strategy.
Oh, big elbow. That's it. Manhandling it. Oh, huge knee. Big time.
I'm ready for this, and I'm definitely going to do everything I can in my power to get one step closer to the UFC title.
베네수엘의 선수도 강자와 많이 싸웠지만
John's beaten many tough opponents, but he'll find out why I have beaten so many of mine.
We've both got a lot of experience in competing now. Kim's come along a lot in the last couple of years, and he's very highly ranked, so I mean, it's the perfect time for this fight. It's going to be a really good one, I think.
Big right hand. Oh, man. On the jaw. Unbelievable action. My goodness.
Hell yeah, it's the prelims start at 5:45 Eastern. The main card starts at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning. First and foremost, before we talk about the fights, are you going to wake up early enough to watch these?
You're damn right I will, on the UFC Fight Pass exclusively, people. You will not see these fights on Saturday if you don't have the Fight Pass. And yes, I will be up. You know, some of us actually do work Saturdays and Sundays too, man. Some of us are out there. I mean, what you think everybody just takes the day off? Hell no. Hell no. So yeah, I'll be watching these fights. God bless.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have a friend coming in town over the weekend. I said I'd get a beer with him. I don't know if he wants to do something Friday night, Saturday night. If it's Friday night, I'll probably just have a night of drinking and try and stay up till the card's over, probably around 8 a.m. Mountain Time. If we meet up Saturday, I'll probably just take like a quick 3-hour nap before the card. Card ends at 8. I can have another 4 hours sleep until noon, wake up at noon, have a productive Saturday. But, yeah,
it doesn't sound realistic at all.
Nah, it probably won't fucking happen. But, yeah, it's in Macau, which is the reason why it's going to be such a weird time, because for us, Saturday morning, it's a lot more convenient for them to go and buy tickets, get at a good gate. It's at the Cotai Arena, or at the Cotai Arena in Cotai, Macau. Let's get to the prelims first. We have 4 fights. Kazuki Tokudome versus Yu Chul Nam, a lightweight fight. Our boy Zach Cummings, Team Darkside, facing off against the undefeated Alberto Mina. Albert Chang taking on Anying Wong, and in a featherweight bout, Jumbabek Turshin taking on Mark Adaiva. I tried pronouncing those names. What did you think of that? What do you think of these 4 fights that can be viewed exclusively on the UFC Fight Pass, available at UFC.tv?
Yeah, shit, man. I'm trying real hard to care about who's actually fighting, but of course there's only one fight that actually matters to me. Mr. Zach Cummings from Team Sun and Team Darkside. Shout out. Guest on our show before. I think he's gonna whoop that ass. He didn't go down all the way over there for nothing. Yeah, fam, it's gonna be a good fight, but these other guys, the UFC had their faces blacked out up until what, today? Ridiculous.
Yeah, I went and looked at their UFC profiles, like the UFC profiles of the guys in the co-main event, and they had like no information on them. It was kind of sad. I don't know too much about a lot of these guys. I know a lot about Zach Cummings, Team Darkside. Me and fellow Team Darksider, Lexi, got a picture with Mr. Cummings. Shout out to Fatal Tito and Lexi over in LA. Let's shift cards, get to the main card, talk about those 3 fights that make up the beginning of the main card. We are not even going to bother to break down the Tough China finale. Ramses and I didn't watch Tough China. Nobody watched Tough China except for our buddy Ray Thompson, who said he watched every episode and said it was complete shit and didn't really have an opinion on the finale. So it sounds like we're pretty fortunate we didn't waste our time. No offense to Tough China, but if you want us to talk good about a product, it's got to be a good product. And from everybody I heard from, I know multiple people who watched the first episode and stopped because it just was horrible.
I just can't understand what they're saying.
Well, they have subtitles and shit, right?
Do they? I don't know. All I know is they're talking, and I don't know what they're saying.
Well,
That's
Tough
the basic
Brazil
problem here.
Tough Brazil 3. We're gonna see a lot of that. We'll have some English, but a lot of that is gonna be subtitled.
I understand Portuguese.
I watched Tough Brazil 1. And it was funny, there was one dude who threw his mattress out of the house and slept on the bed frame because he came up in the favelas and was more comfortable sleeping on a bed frame than he was a mattress. Crazy shit.
That's pretty much all of them, dude. You're gonna see some crazy shit on the season of Tough, man. I've heard a little bit of it here and there, man. It's gonna be a goddamn disaster mess.
Yeah, we have 3 fights. A heavyweight fight, a bantamweight fight, and a featherweight fight. All of them have a similar motif in that they all were doing well a couple years ago, but lately they've been struggling mightily, and a loss here might end their current run in the UFC. Matt Mitrione taking on Sean Jordan, 2 ex-football players. A bantamweight fight between Nam Fan and Vaughn Lee, and a featherweight fight against Hatsu Hioki, who a lot of people thought was the number 2 in the division before he went on this losing streak. He's going to face off against Ivan Menjivar, who hasn't been winning many of his recent fights. Jesus Christ, I think I'm smoking that same shit Bjorn Rebney sold Gil and the Diaz brothers. God damn. But do you have any thoughts on these 3 fights? I think Mitrione, Nam Fan, and Hatsu Hioki all take victories.
Yeah, like I said, I honestly didn't even know Matt Mitrione and Sean Jordan were still in the UFC until I checked out the card earlier this week on UFC.com. Hioki, Menjivar, I don't care about either of these men. It should be an interesting fight. At least that's what I remember from these guys. But come on, these are 2 mid-tier guys just going at it. Whatever, it's China. I'll be up anyway. And nothing really exciting for me here, but I'll be watching.
He will be watching. Let's get to the main event fight, Dong Young Kim versus John Hathaway. But first, we got to knock out our stat of the day.
Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day!
John Hathaway has earned his last 6 wins by decision. 1 more would make him just the 6th man in UFC history to notch 7 wins by decision in a row, joining GSP, John Fitch, Gray Maynard, Ben Henderson, and his opponent this weekend, Dong Young Kim.
Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day!
Shout out to the Dan Patrick Show on Audience Network and the NBC Sports Network. Check it out 9 to 12 in the morning Eastern every weekday. Shout out to Patrick Seaton O'Connor and Jamie Josta for the Stat of the Day music. The welterweight bout between Dong Young Kim and John Hathaway. Both of these guys essentially have 1 real loss on the record. Kim has 2, but one of them was that freak loss where he had a muscle spasm and couldn't go on. Who knows who would have won that fight. But he obviously had the knockout loss to Carlos Condit. John Hathaway, 17-1, the only fight on his record, to, like I called earlier in the show, welterweight gatekeeper Mike Pyle back at UFC 120. Since then, Hathaway has defeated Chris McRae, Pascal Kraus, and John McGuire, all by decision. Like I said in the stat of the day, his last 6 wins have all been by decision. Kim also on a 3-fight winning streak against Paulo Thiago, CR Bahadurizada. Both of those were decisions as well, but his last fight, a epic second-round KO against Eric Silva back last October. What do you see going down in this? Personally, I think Kim has the tools to keep it striking, is a better striker than Hathaway, keeps his distance. Hathaway's, like Jay Jean said on the MMA Roundtable, Hathaway's the best wrestler to ever come out of England. Kim's the best wrestler to ever come out of South Korea, but I think Kim really has the upper hand. He has more experience fighting top level fighters. Him being a southpaw, I don't know if that'll give Hathaway problems. He's a 4th Dan black belt in judo. Hathaway, an amazing wrestler, trains with the London Shoot Fighters, just about as big as Kim is, but I think we see Kim taking it. What do you think about the main event, Ramses?
This one actually, this is actually going to be a good fight, I'm guessing. This is something that I actually want to see. I would pay money to see this fight. Yum Yum Kim versus the Hitman John Hathaway. Of course, never Yum Yum Kim. It hasn't been the same since UFC 148 when he took that dive for Damian Maia, claiming what at first it looked like his rib was broke, but then just turned out to be a quote muscle spasm. I don't know, man. Something about that fight always stunk, but I think he has the advantage here of course, he's Asian. And that's really his only advantage. What's the age difference on these guys? It doesn't even say on UFC.com.
Hathaway's 26, Dong Young Kim's 32.
Yeah, coin toss for me. It's going to be a good one, but I think Yum Yum Kim is going to put this guy away for the simple fact that they probably poisoned his water or something like that already.
Damn, that's some crazy shit. Kim actually beat TJ Grant back at UFC 100. Grant has not lost to a lot of people. In his last, Jesus Christ, like 15 fights, the only people he's lost to, Johnny Hendricks, Dong Young Kim, and Ricardo Almeida, Jiu-Jitsu master. You have any other thoughts on anything else? MMA from the week of news. Tough China, UFC 170. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Get the damn UFC Fight Pass. Hold on to it, people. And in just 11, actually, it might be down to 10 days, depending on where you are right now. 10 days, the premiere of The Ultimate Fighter, Tough Brazil 3, Sonnen versus Vanderlei Silva. UFC.tv, get your pass, dude. It's worth it.
It's worth it, and it will also be worth it to check out The Word on the Street every Tuesday night when we got Tough Brazil 3 going on. Coach Jamie Huey gonna be a part of it, gonna break down the shit after the show. So, are we gonna do it the same night as the show, or do it a different night with Word on the Street?
I don't know, man. We're gonna have to see how it kind of plays out. I gotta circle around and see what the coach is thinking about it too. He'll definitely have to weigh in on this. But yeah, don't worry. We'll have the best post-tough fight recap show, interviews, whatever, inside baseball, man. We'll have it. Whatever, man. It's gonna be the source for Tough 3 Brazil over here in the U.S. The Word on the Street.
Yeah, we'll get the Brazilian Chael Sonnen fan club to come and translate, bring on fighters from Time Sonnen, I think it is, because team in Portuguese is time. So we're all about Time Sonnen here with Team Darkside. Definitely follow The Word on the Street. They are on our iTunes if you subscribe to us on the iTunes, or look him up on YouTube. Word on the Street, always having good interviews over there. Thank you so much for listening to the MMA Podcast. We do this show every Wednesday night at the same time as the Word on the Street, midnight Eastern. And again, follow Ramses on Twitter, The Aunt Jimmy Show. Follow us on Twitter, the MMA Podcast. We got interviews coming down the line. Looking forward to them. We really appreciate the shit out of Davey coming on, Yao coming on again. Follow them at Yao_the_truth and Davey Boy. Follow Ross Finkelstein. Follow our boy Alan Westland Eagle AH. Follow C. Lowenstein. Follow Sweet Pappy Jones. Follow my boy Jay Jeans. Follow MMA Mental. MMA Mental getting a lot of big interviews recently. We'll see you next week. Enjoy Tough China. We're going to enjoy the shit out of it. Early as fuck in the morning. Prelims starting at 2:45 a.m. over on the west coast of America. We'll see you then. See ya!
With Irish science, silencing all these idiots caught up in all their ignorance. Two clans fighting under the same banner. We all got love for this ground game, and that's all that matters.